Hello and welcome. Today we've got Clayton Thomas, and today we are going to be discussing the Trinity, which is something that we need to know, especially for those who have the Jabadoos and those who are around the Jabadoos. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview. Unless, of course, myself and Clayton can choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. Clayton, thank you for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
Nicholas, I'm doing outstanding. It's the beginning of spring. We actually had birds chirping outside today for the first time. So it's a great time to see the weather changing, right? And hopefully we see the winds of change in many aspects of life. It's been an interesting 2 years. And as you mentioned, the environment for many has changed significantly, and the process is in place for people to begin realizing that you've been a victim of your environment in different ways. So the last month or two, has been really, really intriguing as we've been able to get more data back from a lot of our collaborating physicians that have clients, some elite athletes that have been jaberdooed, as you've talked about, but also many people that have friends or family that chose to have that done, but they individually chose not to, but they're suffering consequences from their exposure to their loved ones or people around them, both of which have the same impacts, unfortunately. So being able to now have data, clinical data, multiple case studies, peer-reviewed, third-party analyzed, to show that the Trinity, as we're going to talk about, is not just having some benefit, but reversing all of the major issues. We have the win, right? And we've always known that the Trinity is what we need, and that's why it has its name, whether it's Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, or clean slate, zero in, and restore. They all work synergistically. And if we're not doing everything we can now to take care of this entire system, decalcify your pineal glands, you can open up your third eye and actually become more awakened, not just aware. And you're not going to be functional in this environment. So.
Okay. Last time we spoke a lot about heavy metals, I believe.
Absolutely.
And that's something that's very important because it's in our everyday, it's in our lives all the time, and it's affecting us. And again, you mentioned the pineal gland, and that's something that is our main focus, especially in this community, the Great Awakening. Those who are, pulling themselves out of the matrix understand that a pineal gland is one of the most fundamental, important things of our lives. So why don't you give us a breakdown of what the Trinity is? Who needs to know about this? And, how do we take it, and just give us a breakdown, educate us.
So the combination of the Trinity is, and you get to have some amazing interviews with her, and I have her portrait behind me with the creations of Dr. Christina Rahm. You have three primary components. You have clean slate, which is really the foundation to all of this. So as we've talked about heavy metals, but we can throw in molds, fungus, viral fragments, which is really, really important in today's environment. And you can throw in graphene, you can throw in gadolinium and mercury, cadmium, arsenic, lead, aluminum, cesium, strontium. You have the whole host, and you can throw in additional environmental toxins like glyphosate and such that are destroying us. And that little chemical alone, that's in 90% of our water supply, as well as the air, it's in most of our foods, has created an extinction event of humanity if it's not addressed within us. And what clean slate is it's a quantum pseudocol of Christina's creation of taking nature's most powerful crystal and breaking it apart in a manner that keeps this amazing cage structure in place to where it can grab onto and scavenge these toxins passively. Proven to do this for the last few millennia. But then also deliver the bioavailable silica. So when you think of what we are as this amazing operating system, right? And the matrix is something that I'll reference here in a minute. If you understand that we are this amazing hologram, we are the most intricate, amazing quantum computer system ever created. But there's a little thing that's really important to understand with computer chips, right? And China's doing a really good job of controlling this right now, which is disrupting, production of, computer-based products all over the world, which is silicon-based microchips. We need silica. We don't get enough of it. It's been kept from us. It's the one thing that is left aside from many conversations. And this amazing little crystal is actually nature's most abundant bioavailable source of this amazing silica. Christina figured out how to unlock it. So at the same time, you're removing a lot of these toxins and allowing your body to become more effective at flushing these things out and removing fluoride. So you're decalcifying the pineal gland, but simultaneously it's delivering trace minerals and it's delivering the bioavailable silica to begin the regeneration process, the upgrade, because there's a big component and a big difference between being aware. So if you want the best analogy of this, because people understand the matrix, you have the red pill, blue pill, right? Mm-hmm. People are being red pilled like crazy right now, even if they're not aware of it, which means you're becoming aware. You're not awake at that point, because if you remember in the documentary of the Matrix, he chose to become aware of the environment. There was a process he went through, and it's just funny that to get plugged in or unplugged the way that they did it in the movie, it was back here, but ours is right here. Only through detoxification of your pineal gland and then working to reset the rest of your system are you able to become more awakened, right? Awareness and awake, two completely different mechanisms. You start here, the process is to get awake. You can't do that without cleaning up the system. So clean slate provides that foundation. The second is really taking care of your gut, killing off the mold, the fungus, parasites, those tight junctions that are needed in your gut versus the leaky gut issues that most people have. Restore the amazing little sachets of greatness are capable of providing the key components that knock out most of that stuff really, really quickly. And in this environment, whether you're worried about G or
we won't say that word.
What's that?
We'll keep that what you just said about 5. That one.
5 grams.
We have to, yeah.
So the important part with these frequencies is they cause a proliferation of mold and fungus throughout your system. They cause an explosion because other things that are going on are suppressing your immune system function, like the jabberdoos or being around people that have been jabberdooed. That suppresses your immune system. So with the suppression of your immune system, the mold, the fungus explode in your body. So you have to address that stuff. So Restore is created to help your body kill that off and flush it out. And if you take care of your gut, that's where your immune system is controlled. That's where your neurotransmitters are produced, or at least 90 to 95% of them. So that last part is neurotransmission. How do you get this brain firing with your second brain and your vagus nerve properly connecting through this entire operating system? That's why you need neurotransmitters. Dopamine and serotonin are crucial. And this little guy, zero in, I've got some in front of me because I took 3 of them a little bit ago. But these amazing little golden capsules of greatness are an adaptogen that feeds your gut the ability to produce more dopamine and serotonin endogenously. But your community is probably going to understand a couple things with this. This is how the system all comes together. If you decalcify your pineal gland, which is what Clean Slate is doing, and you can boost endogenous dopamine and serotonin, which means endogenous being naturally created, then it is completely controlled by your intention. right? With what you want to do. It could be being really calm and relaxed and focused and just crushing it throughout the day. It could be having amazing yoga and meditation sessions. It could be performing at a level athletically that is completely unfamiliar to you, or it could be getting the greatest night's sleep you've ever had, because your brain is going to control all of these processes. But when it comes to the key component of sleep and working with your pineal gland, and you might have heard DMT is kind of cool. Well, we produce DMT endogenously, naturally, if we do it properly. And this is where the fun comes in. You take your clean slate, you decalcify your pineal gland, you take care of your gut and everything with Restore. You take your zero in. Most people take it during the day, but we have found taking a capsule at night can be outstanding, because the decalcification of your pineal gland allows the proper conversion of serotonin produced from zero in to melatonin, so you can go to sleep. But extra serotonin will actually convert to DMT. So you have lucid dreams. You'll have deeper sleep, better dreams, so you can recover at night. Your brain, through your glymphatic system, lymph takes care of everything here. Your glymph is your brain's mechanism, or your body's mechanism, for washing your brain at night. And it only works during deep REM sleep. This is our big issue when it comes to our neurology, is we don't get enough deep sleep. So we can't clean this up. So it becomes more toxic over time. And then we get into issues. But if you're able to get into deeper sleep, you start to clean your brain out. You wake up in the morning because you get the dopamine kick. You're refreshed. You feel amazing, almost euphoric, and you're able to crush it throughout the day. And then you have the outcomes of what happens from systemic inflammation from people that have been jabberdued, right? So this is where the Trinity becomes really unique, because you've probably heard that many people, even elite athletes, are having issues with heart inflammation or systemic inflammation, or the issues, what they'll call a cytokine storm, right? These are all things that have been clinically identified, very well proven. You can thank Dr. Malone, Dr. McCullough, Dr. Mikovits talks about it, along with many other well-regarded physicians that are doing even a little bit of research and looking at blood work on people. So you have systemic inflammation, you have heart inflammation, but there's one other thing that's really important, and that's your liver. We've seen massive elevations of inflamed or non-alcoholic fatty liver. So you have to understand one simple mechanism with our biology. Fat in our system stores toxins. That's why people get really obese and fat. It's not because they're lazy. It's because they're really polluted and really toxic. And your body is going to use your fat cells to store these toxins, and they'll swell up. They'll become inflamed because of the exposure. Well, we've become so toxic as a society that regardless of age, at least in the United States, this has been identified by the Mayo Clinic, that they've stated in the last couple of years that at least 30% of the population of all ages, kids, teenagers, adults, geriatrics, all of them have a non-alcoholic fatty liver. We've become so polluted that our primary detoxifying organ is having to store fat, because there's so many toxins in it and going through it that it can't handle the load. So you have a fatty liver that's not functional. It's not just from alcohol consumption. So we have many doctors, but Dr. Norbert Keskes, who's in Hungary, who is the doctor for the Hungarian Olympic Committee, as well as many elite athletes and elite individuals in Hungary and throughout Eastern Europe, has had many, many patients that are athletes. So these aren't people that are really, really sick already. These are people that are really active, really lean, look like us, only better, because you're in pretty good shape too, that had been sick, but then because of travel, mandate, wanting to make sure that they fit in, had a couple jabberdoos and have had issues because of it. Haven't been able to exercise, haven't been able to breathe very well. Their extremities started to get numb. They weren't feeling very good. All symptoms of not being really healthy. their blood work has all shown a couple things. So there's a primary blood marker called proBNP that is the key blood marker for cardiac inflammation and this cytokine storm that goes on. You want to know that number. In the instances that we've seen in all of his patients so far that are showing issues, whether from being the one that got it or being around the people who've had them, these numbers are like 3 times the high end of normal. And their C-reactive protein, so their systemic inflammation numbers are off the chart. And their liver enzyme markers are 2 to 3 times the high end of normal. So what you're seeing is this cascade of chaos taking place in the body that the scientific literature shows that if these things go on for an extended period of time, they will lead to your demise. They'll kill you quickly. So he's been using the Trinity in some specific protocols, which we have that are available through the International Science Nutrition Society. I'll make sure you have a link for that as well so people can go get this. It's not something we can use from promotional material because it's clinical data that has to be used for research or information purposes. I'm not allowed to use it from a marketing standpoint where I'm talking about the products because we get into issues, but it is available. And what he's found is this: using the combination of Clean Slate, Zero In, and Restore in those people, in 30 days, they no longer had issues. Their proBNP markers normalized. Their C-reactive protein levels dropped almost to 0. So there's no negative systemic inflammation markers. Their liver enzyme function normalized in the first 30 days. So you go from having a lot of issues to being healthy again.
Okay.
And that's pretty much all we need.
So somebody who's, been jabbered, for an example, or somebody who's had problems, who's been around someone who's been jabbered, will this help? Will the Trinity help? Will it reverse it? Can it reverse it?
And that's what I can say without having to make claims about, if you use these products with these issues, because we don't want to talk about having to treat specific issues, right? Especially in this environment. But what I can say is what the data shows, what the clinical case studies of people that have those issues that have been using these, the data shows that they no longer have those issues. 100% of the cases with 0 side effects, and there is nothing else on the market that's actually doing this right now. So when you look at this environment, you say, what can I do? Well, you should use the Trinity because there is nothing else. There's no pine needle tea or anything else you can do that's actually doing what these are doing.
Got it. So why don't you explain to us what else and what are the benefits of having your pineal gland and really awakening? What is the benefits? What's the experience like?
Honestly, watch The Matrix, right? But also, the beautiful part is there's been so many things that have been put in front of us, from a movie standpoint, that we're shown components of what we're capable of, yet we're not given the opportunity. So if you decalcify your pineal gland, and the other part of what Zero In does, and most people have seen the movie Limitless, because they're like, wait a minute, I want to function like that dude. That's available to us, but it doesn't need to be pharmacological, right? It doesn't need to be a drug that does it. And the same thing goes with DMT, right? There's so many people that are looking at, okay, I need to use psychedelics and I'm going to use mushrooms and some other things to unnaturally boost these DMT levels in a manner that your body is not ideal working with. So your pineal gland is an amazing little gland that sits at the base of your brain that is a couple things, right? It is the spiritual center of our brain. It is the light center of our brain, of us. It is your third eye, right? It is crucial. It's also the place where your circadian rhythm and the conversion of neurotransmitters takes place as the light center of your brain physically. So when you look at your circadian rhythm, the sleep wake cycle that we function on, right? Because it's springtime, even though my background is terrible because the leaves haven't come in yet. The ability to have your system working ideally is something that is foreign to most of us. And we've been taught that, oh, you want to be well, right? The wellness industry is so prevalent. I hate that term because wellness is just above poor. And your community wants to achieve greatness because that's what we were made to do. If you understand how powerful this little thing is in here, that we are light, that we need to be connected to our source, that we have access to infinite information. We can problem solve faster than quantum computers. If we're online, the calcification of your pineal gland basically unplugs your data port to what Al Gore said is the information superhighway, right? If you're not connected, you're here, you're existing, but you're not on the line. When you turn that back on, and through time, it's not something that happens immediately, right? It's not like flipping on a light switch. It's a process of cleaning out this operating system. So you can think of it like hitting Control-Alt-Delete on your laptop. So your operating system's going to shut down. It's going to clean out a bunch of stuff and it's going to reboot. It's going to come back online, but then you have to get updates, right? So what you're doing with daily consistent use of Clean Slate, Zero In, Restore, and now the greens, the Relive greens that Christina created, you're basically giving yourself daily updates. So you've done a reset and then you're constantly just improving. And you eventually get to a point where things activate and open up, just like you hear Neo go in the Matrix when he's like, I know Kung Fu. Like,
yeah.
Now you're starting to become awake. That awakening process takes place. I have had conversations with some really, really elite individuals that have shared that component where intellectually they're off the charts with what they do, but the use of these three amazing little components and really what Zero In helps to kick in, they're problem solving, they're seeing things, they're doing things at a level of which they've never been able to do before. So whether you're insanely elite at what you're doing, or you can say you're just the average person, which none of us are meant to be average, you get to raise your level of performance because there's not one of us yet that is really great. We're all made for greatness, but we're not even close to achieving it yet. And if you want to achieve that, those are the kind of people that we want because you're not going to get it anywhere else.
Well, Clayton Thomas, it's been a great honor to speak with you. Thank you so, so much. I will happily leave the link below so that people can have a look. They can ask you questions and much more. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Make the decision not just for yourself, but your pets. Your pets will love you for it. But also kids. The root babies that we have, that moms that have been using Clean Slate during pregnancy, and we have newborn babies that are getting a drop as well as mom taking it. Their eyes start tracking developmentally. They are developing faster than standard kids. They're getting up and walking at 8 months. They're tracking, they're talking earlier, they're moving better, they're healthier. And as a parent, I don't think there's anything more important than having just amazing kids and giving them the greatest opportunity to be as bright as possible, as early as possible. So don't just think of yourself, but really give this stuff a shot. And we have a 30-day empty container money back guarantee. which hardly ever gets used because the stuff works.
Okay. Well, Clay Thomas, thank you very much. And we'll speak again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Nicholas.